Good evening everyone. I am Aditi and today we are here for the paper presentation which is a part of our course CUQ 301. And the title of our paper is Romantic Partnerships and the Dispersion of Social Ties, a network analysis of relationship status on Facebook. This paper is based on work by Lars Beck from Facebook and John Winter from Cornell University. So basically, social network and individual's network neighborhood, that is the set of people to whom he or she is connected or is linked, has been shown to be of importance in a wide range of settings. Like in social support, in professional opportunities, etc. These days, the social interactions takes place more online than offline. Most of the interaction takes place over Facebook, and people can have a variety of friends, like it can be co-worker or a school friend or let's say a family member. And the particular thing which is of our interest is the relationship partner. So most of the people, what they do is they update their relationship status on Facebook and like married or engaged or in a relationship. And what basically we are going to do in this study is find if we is see if we can find if we can predict the relationship partner of a user given its network. First, we will look at the tie strength. So, tie strength forms an important dimension along which to characterize a person's links to their network neighbors. Now, informally, this tie strength means the closeness of a friendship. Now, strong ties are typically embedded in the network surrounded by a large number of mutual friends and often involving large amount of shared time together and extensive interaction. While on the other hand, the weak network often involve few mutual friends and it can serve as bridges to diverse parts of the network, providing access to novel information. Now, for the long time, embeddedness has been so tightly associated with the tie strength that there had been open questions regarding can there be other structural measures to find particular types of strong ties. In this in this study, we basically look about the romantic relationships. The main contributions in the work is they proposed a new network measure called dispersion for estimating the tie strength. Then, given the ubiquity of embeddedness and existing analysis of tie strength, the availability of this new measure broadens the range of tools availability for reasoning about tie strength and about mechanisms of tie strength. Then secondly, they have provided new substantial characterization of romantic relationships in terms of network structure. See about the problem description, that is, we analyze romantic relationships in social networks using a data set of randomly sampled Facebook users who declared a relationship partner in their profile. This includes users who listed their status as married, engaged or in relationship, and then to evaluate different structural theories on a common footing. So basically, given that a user has declared a relationship partner, we want to understand how effectively we can find the partner. There are different questions that could be asked in the related vein, that is, inferring from a user's network neighborhood whether he or she is in a relationship. So now, what data we took for analysis were of two kinds. The first one, we principally used two collections of network neighborhoods from Facebook. The first consists of the network neighborhoods of approximately 1.3 million Facebook users, selected uniformly from among all users of at least age of at least 20 with between 50 and 2000 friends who list a spouse and relationship partner in their profile. So these neighborhoods have an average of 291 nodes and 6652 links for an overall dataset containing roughly 379 million nodes and 8.6 billion links. This is called the extended dataset. And the second one, we employ a smaller dataset, a sample of approximately 73,000 neighborhoods from its first collection, selected uniformly at random from among all neighbors within at most 25,000 links, and this we call as primary dataset. Now moving on to modeling of social interactions. Basically, we draw a graph, a network, and some conclusions which can be made from this graph is, basically in this graph we clearly can see two clusters with highly embedded links which is visible, one in the top and another in the right. Our task is to recognize relationship partners from network structure. We start with the fundamental baseline. So basically we start with the embeddedness. In embeddedness we basically find the strength of the bond using the mutual friends. So the number of mutual friends define the embeddedness. It captures how much the two partners' social circle overlap. So more number of mutual friends would imply a common social circle. So that would give us a natural predictor for identifying a user's use partner, that is select the link U of maximum embeddedness and propose the other end V of this link as use partner. So when we have tested this, so we found the performance to be 24.7%. So now the question arises that can the performance increase, because 24.7 is definitely not much. So then we come to the next method, which is the dispersion. So performance wise, we found that it is possible to achieve more than twice the performance as compared to the embeddedness. So for example, on married users in our sample, the friend who scores highest under this dispersion measure is the user's spouse over 60% of the time. So since each user in our sample has at least 50 friends, this performance is more than 30 times higher than random guessing. Now let's talk about theoretical basis for dispersion. There are certain limitations with the embeddedness as a predictor, drawing on the theory of social foci. Okay, so many individuals have clusters of friends corresponding to well-defined foci of interactions in their lives, such as the cluster of the co-worker or the cluster of people with whom they attend college. People within these clusters know each other. The clusters contain links of high embeddedness, even though they do not necessarily correspond to particularly strong ties. In contrast, the links to a person's relationship partner or other closest friends may have lower embeddedness, but they will often involve mutual neighbors from several other foci, reflecting the fact that social orbits of these close friends are not bounded within one focus. So thus, instead of embeddedness, we propose that the link between the individual U and his partner V should displace the dispersed nature. Now this dispersed structure is basically the mutual neighbors of U and V are not well connected to one another, and hence U and V act jointly as the only intermediate between these different parts of the network. What happens in this method is we take GU to be subgraph induced on U and all its neighbors. Now we take CUV to be the set of common neighbors of U and V, where V is a vertex in the graph GU. And now we find the absolute dispersion, which is given by the formula as given here. So all these points are considered from the graph GU minus U comma V. That is, we are not considering our points U and V while finding the absolute dispersion. So now the function which is given here dv s comma t, it's basically the distance function and it can be anything, but when we tested it with different distances, we found the performance to be maximum when we define dv to be the function equal to 1 when s and t are not directly linked and also have no common neighbors in GU other than u and v and equal to 0 otherwise. Let us see this by an example. In the given graph, if we have to find the dispersion of U and H, then what we find is U and H have basically some of the vertices in common. Those are F, D, C, J and K. Now among these, we will add up, we will find how many of them are not directly linked, and we see some of them like CJ, CK, FJ and FK. So the dispersion of U comma H comes out to be 4. Similarly, we find the dispersion of U comma B, which comes out to be 1. Now we can consider different forms of distance function and come up with performance which is higher than the one previously noted. So first one, what we observe is the performance is highest for the function which is monotonically increasing in dispersion u comma v and monotonically decreasing in embeddedness of u comma v. So we come out with another function, we call it as norm of uv and define it to be the ratio of dispersion upon embeddedness. And when we use this measure, we found the performance to be 48%. So we see for the another function which is the one given here. And what we found is the performance of 50.5%, which is the maximum, is attained at these given values, that is alpha is 0.61, b is 0 and c is 5. And the graph is drawn here. Now the another method which can be applied is the recursive use of dispersion. So what we do is we identify nodes V for which the UV link achieves a high normalized dispersion based on the set of common neighbors Cu, V, who in turn also have high normalized dispersion in their links with U. So to carry out this recursive idea, we assign values to the nodes reflecting the dispersion of their links with U, and then update these values in terms of dispersion value associated with other nodes. So specifically, we initiate with xp equals to 1 for all neighbors v of u, and then iteratively update each xp to be the one given in this formula. Now after the first iteration, our xp comes out to be 1 plus 2 times norm v, so which essentially means that if we rank the nodes by xv, after the first iteration, it is equivalent to ranking the nodes by norm of u comma v. So we find the highest performance when we rank nodes by the values of xp after the third iteration. Now for purposes of later discussion, we will call this value of xp as recursive dispersion, which is given by rect u comma v. So now we'll look at the performance which will be done by Abhilash.
Below figures shows the performance of algos based on structural and interaction measures. Structural measures are based on one's network, and interaction measures are based on one's activity. So, in our data set, most users were either married or in a relationship. Very few were in engagement. The performance of the structural measures is much higher for married users, that is 60.7%, than for users in a relationship, that is 34.4%. While the opposite is true for profile queuing, it achieves higher performance than recursive dispersion for users in a relationship. The performance for engagements lies between married and in a relationship significantly, and these measures are significantly higher for males than for the females. Performance is higher for most focused subset. For example, on the subset corresponding to United States, the friend with highest recursion dispersion is the user's spouse in 76.9% of. And performance for same-sex relationship is same. For female users, the absolute level of performance is almost identical, independent of their partner's gender. While this is not true for male users, the performance is significantly higher for relationship in which the partner is male. If measure is maximized, still not romantic partner, then family member will be the guy which we find by this algorithm. The friend who maximizes this measurement recursive dispersion is the partner or a family member over 75% of the time. Same performance remains same for married people, while this gets inverted in relationship. Female users are more likely to have their partner or a family member as their top friend. So there were three kinds of measurements. There were we define our distance function as 1 if the number of hops between the two nodes is greater than our threshold. In the other method, we define our distance function based on the connected components. So if the two nodes lie in the same component, their distance function will be 0, otherwise 1. And in the last, we divide the subset GU minus U in communities, and this is done based on the Levine method from Blondetter. And so if they belong to the same community, then the function distance function will be 0, otherwise 1. And another approach is energy minimization approach. So in this method, we do recursive dispersion with distance function based on threshold of 3, and in this method, if we set the threshold, our threshold 3, then the accuracy achieved is highest. And in this figure 7, performance of other two parameters like betweenness and network constraint is shown. So there is another measurement is what is the effect of neighborhood size and the time from which the user had made his accounts on Facebook or has reported his relationship, his or her relationship. So in this graph, as we can see, actually there are two parameters or two effects of increasing size. As the size of network grows, maturity of network grows, and it leads to greater complexity. It may have performance, but it will also reflect offline relationship in richer detail. And this in effect may lead to better performance. So in this experiment, what they did, in this the sets range, the number of friends ranges from 50 to 200, and recursive dispersion is performed well across the full range, as in figure 8. This is this figure rightly shown on the slides. Performance is highest, that is 56% around 100 nodes, and it drops moderately to 33% as the size increases by a order. And it may reflect the base in this larger neighborhood is more informative. So otherwise, except the extremities, that is, if we can see here, the performance is always better by recursive approach. On the extremities, there is a very slight tolerance limits in by which the best single structural feature performs better than the recursive dispersion. So there are many benefits of larger neighborhood. Obviously, the information gets increased. So performance, and if as the time grows, once one user's number of friends also grows, and users with larger neighborhoods are more active, and this more activity leads to less variance in the interaction signals. So previous analysis has shown that number of active relationships grow slowly than compared to the number of friends growing with the time. Number of plausible candidates for partner also grows more slowly. So in this figure, we have shown the performance as a function of time, as the once one has created his or her account on Facebook. So as the time increases, this performance gets better. Although this is this performance doesn't get this much better, but it points to a further source of enhanced performance for users with major neighborhoods. So for next part, I will call Ali for.
Hello, my name is Ali, and I'll be talking about the machine learning aspects of this problem. So the problem of finding the relationship partners can be formulated as a machine learning problem. For any problem to be formulated in the domain of machine learning, we need three things. First we need a data source from which we can derive our features, and the last, the algorithm for classification or regression, whatever the problem may be raised as. So for this, as Abhilash has already explained to you, the entire social network can be described as a graph in which each person is a node, and the ties are described as links between them. And we have the various structural and interactional features which can be used as a data, which can be used as features for training our machine learning algorithm. So I'll be talking about some of these features briefly. So yeah. So first we need to generate the features that can be fed into our learning algorithm, and we divide all the entire features into two main parts: basically the structural and the interactional features. First, I will be talking about the structural features. So we are taking 48 structural features, and they can be divided into three main parts. First, I will be taking the absolute dispersion on six distance matrix, as was described before by Abhilash. Then the normalized dispersion on six distance matrix, and thirdly the recursive versions from iterations 2 to 7. As you know that the recursive dispersion is the third iteration, so it's also counted in this. Next, we'll talk about the interactional features, which are quite important in the machine learning domain, as they tend to give more idea about the relationships and the links between two people. So these are some of the examples of the interaction features. There are many interaction features that are possible, but some of them are suppose two people are tagging each other in photos. So the photos which the people are jointly tagged in tends to give an idea about the closeness or the strength of the bond that people share. Also, the number of times a person views the profile of another person, which tends to give an idea about the interest or the or following a particular person, which gives an idea about the romantic interest and something like that. So we take this metric over a period of 30, 60 and 90 days, and each of them will be used as a feature in our learning approach. And also the number of times the posts and the photos are liked by each other. So there are plenty of Facebook posts which are liked daily, and the likes and comments on these photos tends to give an idea about the social relationships and the social linkups, and hence serves as an important interaction feature. Now we have described the two main basic parts of the data that we will be using. But this needs further conditioning so that our learning approach can improve, and we can achieve better accuracy using the same heuristics. So we use four basic approaches to condition this raw data into more refined version of the features to improve accuracy. First, we'll use the raw feature as it is. Second, we'll normalize the feature such that its mean and standard deviation becomes 1. The standard batch normalization approach, which tends to decrease the invariance of the features and tends to give a better gradient and learning approaches, in which while back propagating the gradient is not vanished. And it also serves as a good regularization agent, so that our network does not overflow. Thirdly, we use a rank version of the feature, where we take each of the feature and plot the individuals according to the rank, and the person having the best rank will be sorted, and this will be used as a feature. And lastly, we use C, but divided by the number of friends a person has. So if we use a boosted tree method, which is an extension of the decision tree method, using only the structural features, we get an accuracy of 53%. But if we use the interaction features only, we get an accuracy of 56%, which is better compared to the structural features. If we consider only the married people, the structural features are found to perform better. So if we look overall, the interaction features tend to perform better than structural features. But if we consider only the married people, the structural features tend to give a better result, which we'll be discussing shortly. A combination of structural features and interaction features perform the best, and we get an accuracy of about 70% using this. So this is a tabulated version of the same thing that I was telling you before. So as you can see, considering all the people married, engaged and in relationship, we get the maximum structural accuracy of 50%, 50.6%, using only the structural features. Using only interaction features, we get a 41.5%, and using a combination of both, we get a 70.5%. Considering only the married people, we get 60.7% maximum structural accuracy and 71.6 combination accuracy. Moving on, we'll move on to a new problem. We'll be using machine learning to predict whether a person is in relationship or not. So basically, before this, what we were doing is, we knew that the person was in a relationship, and we were trying to find the relationship partner from the Facebook graphs and all. But this problem is slightly different from this, as in we don't know whether the person is in a relationship or not, and we are trying to gather whether he is from the Facebook data and the likes and comments and the dispersion data, that whether a person is in a relationship or not. It's quite difficult to do this because of the following reasons. The family members and the close friends may have the same amount of high dispersion that a romantic partner may have. But as we don't know whether this person is in a relationship or not, we cannot comment on whether the link with the highest dispersion is a romantic link or not, because a family members and close friends also give similar data. So for this, we need a different feature set for a learning algorithm. For this, we will be using demographic features such as age, gender, location, and structural data from the social network, as we were doing before, and a union of both. The problem can be more formally described into two parts. First, determining whether a user is in any sort of relationship or not. And a slightly easier version of this is, if we look at only single and married users, we try to classify the people into two categories, whether single or married. So this is a basically binary classification type of thing that we are trying to do in the second part of the problem. The first part is also a binary classification problem, but it needs to be seen over a more difficult feature set. So we use the same algorithm, tree boosting algorithm, and the analysis as such. We have the single versus married. The baseline accuracy is 56.6%. If we use only the demographic data, we get 78% accuracy, and 66% accuracy if you use only the network data. So this is a very interesting thing, because our the data derived from our network, from like the dispersion, and the embeddedness do not serve as a good feature for this algorithm, whereas a certain demographic data like age, gender, location tends to serve as a good heuristic, because if two people live in the same area and they are the same age, so if they are living in the same area, then it can also include the family members. But if they are the same age, then it includes certain family then it excludes certain family members away from the set. And then if we put and if we use other slightly other features as well, then we can narrow down on the partner, on whether the person is in relationship or not. Better if we just use the network characteristics only. So now we'll be exploring whether how the accuracy metrics change over time after the relationship was first reported. It is observed that the structural features are more accurate in predicting older relationships, whereas interactional features are more important in predicting a newer relationship. So this is a very interesting observation, because when the relationship is new, the people tend to view a person's profile more, tend to like and comment on their pictures more, and hence the interaction features serve as a more important or more dominant feature while analyzing the relationships. But as the relationship progresses and the time increases, the person's social circles tend to intervene more and more, and the dispersions in the embeddedness matrix tends to increase, and hence they become more dominant over the interaction features, which tend to decrease, because after some time they don't like to view the other person's profile as much or like or comment. But the social circles tend to intervene more. They become friends with the other person's classmates or co-workers or family members, and hence the dispersion matrix increase, and these features become more dominant. So hence the structural features are more prominent in predicting the older relationships. So these are the four graphs which tend to describe what I was telling before. In the first graph, we have four metrics: recursive dispersion, photo liking, embeddedness, and viewing the profiles. So as you can see, the red line tends to dip as the time increases. The person in question does not want to view as much of the profile as he used to do before, and that's quite understandable. The embeddedness and the recursive dispersion show a constant rise, and because of the intertwining of the social circles as I was talking about. In the second graph, we have removed the distinction between the photos and the viewing, and used a combined interaction features curve, which you can see is quite constant as the time increases. The structure one tends to increase as you can see. So there is basically a trade-off between the structure and the interaction features, where one tends to increase and the other tends to decrease. So if we use both, we see a rise in the accuracy over time. So now we analyze the relationship status where the time is increasing, and as well as the status of the relationship is also changing. Like the first the person is single, then in a relationship, then engaged, and then married. For analyzing this, we use 29,000 married people whose entire relationship graph was reported on Facebook. Like first in a relationship, then engagement, and then after at least a month of engagement, and then marriage. So we take 29,000 of such married people and see how the embeddedness and dispersion and other metrics change. So as you can see, the embeddedness is firstly on the y-axis we have precision, which denotes the fraction of instances in which the person's spouse, future or current spouse, scores the highest with respect to other people. So as you can see, the embeddedness is quite low in precision as compared to recursive and normal dispersion, and recursive dispersion predicts the correct spouse of the person 80 days sooner on an average compared to embeddedness, and 10 days sooner compared to normalized dispersion. So now we talk about persistence of relationships, like how likely a person is to get out of a relationship. And to address this question, we took the users who listed themselves as being in a relationship rather than being married, and seeing which of them list their relationship status as single 60 days or more than that after. So as you can see from this graph, that the person, this is the recursion dispersion graph, and the person who has high normalized dispersion tends to have a higher probability of being transited from relationship to single. As you can see, as the normalized dispersion, the recursive dispersion increases, the probability of transitioning decreases. So recursion dispersion tends to be a stronger metric to analyze whether a person is likely to get out of a relationship or not. Also, if recursion dispersion incorrectly predicts that this person is the romantic partner of the another person, then this relationship is more likely to be broken as compared to when the recursive dispersion predicts correctly. So this leads me to the conclusion of the seminar. I'll briefly list down what we talked about up till now. First, we described the ideas of dispersion and embeddedness to measure the metrics of the tie strength of the individuals. Then we talked about the performance of these techniques on the basis of various features, and how to better these algorithms using using terms like recursive dispersions and normalized limits. Then we briefly touched upon the machine learning methods to solve the problem and described how the data and the algorithm needs to be conditioned for this. And then we analyzed the temporal characteristics of the accuracy metrics, like how they vary over the time, and we also briefly talked about how the relationship depends on dispersions and how likely they are to be broken, and how can we analyze that from the data. So I would like to thank you for joining us. So if there are any questions, I would be happy to take them.
Why do you use the boosting tree method?
While using the algorithms for machine learning, we tried various algorithms like logistic regressions, and we found the boosting tree method to perform the best.